All right. Okay, well let's go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us here in the Baldwin booth. My name's Kevin. I'm the Director of Marketing and have quite a few things to tell you about today. First, a little bit about Baldwin if you're not familiar. Baldwin has been around for over 70 years. We're known for making high quality, beautiful door hardware. I really appreciate you spending some time and coming into the booth. Are there any questions perhaps that I could answer? And if not, that's fine. I think we...
I have a question actually.
Yes, question here.
Kivo Technology.
Kivo Technology. So you know a little bit about Evolved, yeah. Yes. So what we've done is Kivo is a Bluetooth technology. It's patent protected technology that's been on the market for about 3 years now. And what we're doing is leveraging Kivo technology with Evolved. So for those that are familiar with Kivo, our Evolved lock, like I said, we leverage that technology so you have all the same functionality. And again, that's that patented touch open Bluetooth functionality. We also have some nice Bellinis for you all. If you're thirsty, the Bellini is peach and champagne, and we have those for you here on the bar. So we ask that you all grab a Bellini and walk around and check out some of the hardware.
So this is the third rack of My Way rack. So if you're like me, I eat a lot of cereal, fruit, parfaits for breakfast, and I'm having to load those bowls in the second rack or the bottom rack. They take up a lot of space. So we re-engineered the third rack so you can load those bowls in here. And the way that it's been designed is on an angle, so you can accommodate your wine glasses in the bottom or the middle rack. And you have a place for them because the My Way rack's been designed to accommodate your wine glasses.
Really? A little bit of sugar in this. Yes. Okay, we're last on the tour. Please take at least a couple of these. Sir, would you like to have one?
I've had so much sugar already.
No
but
worries. Well, come on, who says no?
All right, I'll try this one.
You're listening to the UnCommonCore podcast.
I'm Preeti.
I'm Ray.
And we're here for the UnCommonCore podcast. And we're here at the Architectural Digest Design Show.
Pier 94 in Midtown Manhattan.
Hopefully you enjoy this episode. Thanks.
Yeah, hope you like it.
Hi, my name is Hale Hakimian, and our company is Woven Concepts. Yeah, so I'm going to go on a little tangent and tell you the backstory is that we're a family business. We're 4 generations in this business, and kind of different forms of it. And our ancestors were merchants on the Silk Road, and so this is kind of in our blood. What we do. We're the first female generation in the business, and with that said, my father does our product development. He's an engineer by training, and his expertise is, creating and achieving a certain texture and a look, and really inventing and innovating texture. And he had this concept, for many, many years, and so he likes to kind of sit with something before it materializes. I think he sat with it a little too long, but yeah, it ended up coming out at the perfect time. So, and the concept is that the rugs from the Odyssey collection are inspired by NASA imagery. It's our salute to space aviation, and we really kind of take the images and kind of play around with the scale and distort it to let it kind of lend itself and translate properly in the rug. We work about 2 years with our product development phase to really perfect the texture, the colors, the scale. And then it takes about 6 months to make a rug. They're hand-knotted woolen silk. Each rug is named after one of our favorite astronauts. So we have one of our most popular designs is Aldrin, and we named the constellation after, we named the color after constellation. So the color is called Ophelia, and Aldrin is named after Buzz Aldrin. We have Slayton here behind me, so this is named after Deke Slayton. And so it has a bit of a story. It has a nice story for us. It all ties in together.
How do you, what is the fabric, and how do you go about making these rugs? How would you describe the textile?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the first thing I would say is that it's multi-textural, and it has a very kind of organic feel. It's not so deliberate like you would typically see a rug that has a high-low pile, and the low pile is cut in a very kind of delineated, deliberate way. This is, kind of more organic. It has a lot of movement. It has a lot of different levels. And it's hand knotted, as I said, hand knotted wool and natural silk. The other thing that I would describe about the texture is that we distress the wool to give it a really kind of vintage vibe. So when you feel it and you see it, it evokes, something old world. But in terms of the color and the pattern, it has a very contemporary aesthetic and mood to it. So we're kind of pairing contemporary with vintage.
So for our listeners, these are very large, beautiful rugs that have this, like you said, organic vintage feel, and they kind of remind me of Indian, maybe to even like some degree lightly Persian rugs.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about, so for our listeners again, we are looking at some pops of violet or magenta or bright yellow on top of this very kind of natural organic feel. Can you talk to me about where those colors come from and why pops of color?
Yeah, so I think the colors are just, we work as a team to create the palette of each rug, and it's just each palette is to invoke a certain mood. We have, the Cooper Larissa that's behind you has golds and coppers and beige tones that are what I call very romantic colors. Aldrin Ophelia has more kind of bold, strong colors that are, also playful and happy and energizing, but definitely a statement. We do a recent thing that we're doing is the black and silver, kind of going back to the original black that really just is the ultimate classic, and it has a really kind of masculine feel to it. So what the designs and the textures are all kind of uniform and fluid throughout the collection. What's different and what creates a different mood is the color palette of each one. And what we also wanted to do is that we were seeing a lot of, kind of tone on tone, light grays and what we call kind of washed out colors as a strong trend for many years. And we just decided that we kind of want to move past that and start to celebrate color. And, rugs need to have a personality, make a statement. It's a piece of art. We actually get orders for wall hangings and tapestries. So it really is art, and it needs to invoke a mood, whether it's something soothing or it's making you happy. That would be depending on which colorway you go with.
And my last question for you is, who's buying these rugs? Who are your customers, and who's excited about putting these products in their home?
Yeah, so it's unexpectedly, there's no rhyme or reason. I think we had in mind when we, kind of rebranded our company from focusing on traditional designs more towards contemporary colors and patterns. We had in mind the, new generation of home buyers, which are, kind of a younger generation that like simplicity more. They don't like things that are overly extravagant. They don't like decadence. So that's what we had in mind. We wanted to create something that's earthy, but still luxury in terms of its quality and texture. And that was our, kind of the customer that we had in mind when we created the collection. Surprisingly so, we get everything, across the board. We have a lot of couples who are retired. Their children are, older. They may have grandchildren, and it's really fun to see. Even, maybe they have a conservative appearance, but they may not have that aesthetic in their home, and we're enjoying, seeing this product, which is very contemporary and very bold, appeal to a wide demographic.
Thank you so much. That's amazing. Can you tell our listeners where we can find you on the internet, on social forums, etc.?
Yeah, of course. We are wovenconcepts.com with an S. And you'll see our collections on our website. We talked about the Odyssey collection today, but we do a wide range of different types of products, which is all luxury floor coverings, handmade floor coverings. So you'll see our collections on the website, and then you can find us on all social media at wovenconcepts.com. We're on Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, and on Pinterest we actually have created what you would find to be the Woven Concepts lifestyle. So we've paired our rugs with other, I would say, interior inspirations that suit our brand.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
I was walking by and you have paint on your booth that's scattered yellow, pink, blue, green dots all over the place. It's like the paint can factory exploded. So what is this exactly?
So we're Flat Vernacular, and we're a wallpaper and fabric company. This is our latest collection called The Heavens, and spray paint is exactly, you hit the nail on the head. The Heavens is a graffiti term, and so it's inspired by street art, lots of color. We have this colorway is called Dondi, which is named after the infamous graffiti writer Dondi.
Dondi?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so these are wall murals. This is our first foray into the medium of murals, and they are meant to be a background and set the scene for your space.
And is this wallpaper then?
Yes, it is.
And what's the wallpaper? Any type of fabric? Something special about the feel or texture of it?
This in particular is just a clay-coated paper-backed material, but we could do a variety of different substrates, vinyls, grass cloth, you name it.
And you have outlets or retail stores that install it, or professionals, or do you install it yourself, or you the whole company, or just the wallpaper?
We just sell the paper. We leave the hanging to the professionals. But the National Guild of Paper Hangers is a great resource for something like that.
Okay, good. And when people choose it, they choose, the designs are already created then, right? They don't have anything, they just pick the colors and the design, right?
Yeah, that's correct. We have 7 standard colorways, but we welcome custom work all the time.
Okay, all right. Yeah, well, it's kind of cool. What's your website? Yeah, but how would they get it? How would they get hold of you? Are you throughout the country, or?
We have several showrooms around the country: New York, LA, Austin, Texas, Atlanta, Chicago. But our website is flatvernacular.com, and it's all available online.
Flatvernacular.com. So they could order it online, and if they don't have if they live in like Milwaukee or something.
I'm from Milwaukee. How'd you
well,
know
that's why I said that.
Yes, of course. Anyone, the general public, it's available to them. They don't have to be an interior designer. They can access this. They can get samples from us. Yes.
Okay. Do you have a store in Milwaukee?
We don't.
Oh my God.
Chicago? Chicago's the nearest one.
Well, I guess that's your next goal, right? Is to have a store in your hometown.
Yeah, a little homecoming. Yeah.
Where'd you go to school? Are you the designer, or you just work for the company?
Yes, it's my wife and I, Peyton Turner. We both went to school at the Maryland Institute College of Art in Baltimore.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if it was a Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design. No. Oh, okay. So what's your name again?
Brian Casper.
Brian? Okay. Well, nice talking to you.
Thanks for coming
and
by.
Yeah, sure. That's it. Oh, you have these. You're giving away these little teeny boxes with little cats inside.
Right.
What's the idea behind that?
Well, pink is the company color, and we decided we love cats, and people need to adopt a little pink cat to remember us.
Yeah, that's a great idea, and I think it'll work. Okay, great. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye.
Hi, can you tell us who you are and a little bit about your brand?
My name is Mark Perry, and I'm a sculptor. I sculpt in wood, and I'm from Westerly, Rhode Island. I originally started doing this work on Nantucket Island, where I lived for 20 years, and my work has its roots in folk art. And so I call myself a contemporary folk art sculptor because my work is reminiscent, makes people think of things from the past, but also it has its place in very contemporary settings as well, where oftentimes my work finds itself in contemporary spaces.
Can you tell us a little bit about what we're looking at here for our listeners?
This is my 9th year returning to the AD show. The work that I have with me today, there's sort of a broad swath of different things. A number of pieces have wheels in them. I started carving actually dogs with wheels between their front legs. And the idea came from scrimshaw pie crimpers that were carved by whalemen back in the 19th century. So that's the influence for those and where those come from. The cat that I have with me here today, which has some fun little whimsical mice on the wheel, that's my most recent piece that I finished just before the show.
So for people who are tuning in, Mark's stuff is really incredible and astounding. You walk up to the booth and it's animals leaping with wheels in between their forearms. They're whimsical, they're creative, and I think the kind of perhaps like the piece that's been drawing a lot of crowds is this Dalmatian with a wheel that has fire around us. Can you tell us a little bit about why you designed that piece?
The Dalmatian's a pretty sizable piece. I would say it's almost, well, I think it's probably life-size. And there's a red harness with a gold leaf buckle. The whole piece is carved out of a solid piece of wood, and it's very reminiscent of carousel animals that I guess we're all familiar with. We don't see many carousels anymore, but they're the original ones were wooden and were hand carved. And so when I was thinking about the Dalmatian, I was thinking about firehouse dogs, so hence the harness on the dog is red, and with the wheel, it's got a rim of fire, and I sort of had visualized a superhero firehouse dog, and it has a very determined and look on his face, as though he's got a purpose. So that's really the story about the Dalmatian. And it's just, it gets a lot of attention.
I figure your booth has been extremely crowded. Can you tell us a little bit about the kind of individual that buys your work?
Kind of individual that buys my work, obviously dog lovers buy my work. It's a pretty broad spectrum of people that I just sold the little man that I have here up against the wall. I've worked with designers before. My work's in commercial settings. An interesting commercial setting for my work was a couple of my figures were purchased a number of years ago for the Satai Hotel on Fifth Avenue, and we're in the lobby for long time.
You've been coming here for 9 consecutive years, is that right?
Consecutive
years, right. So how is this year's show different from the previous years? Like, what's the highlights of this year?
In general, at the show, I have to be honest with you, I'd never leave my booth, because you never know when somebody's going to come in that wants to purchase something. So I haven't even gone around the rest of the show, but for myself, I get a very good response every year. So I would say that the response that I'm getting on the work that I have here this year is similar to past years.
That's wonderful. Do you find that more men or women buy your works of art?
I think it's more couples. I think when they agree on something and they fall in love with something together, it makes it easier to make a purchase. So.
And just from your own perspective and your own collection, how do you feel differently? Like, I mean, coming here for almost 10 years it's like a long period of time. Do you feel any different, like different from the first time you ever came here?
No, I think to be in New York is very exciting. I only live 2.5 hours from here, and my wife and I like to come in frequently into the city anyways. But there's always a good vibe here at the show. There's always a lot of people, as there are right now, going through, and it's consistent from one day to the next. So before I came to the AD show, I would do smaller craft shows. And once I came to the AD show, this is the only show that I do all year long. So it's really been great.
That's amazing. And can you tell us what it's like to be self-taught? Any advice you have to people who are interested in starting themselves and or starting a business?
Well, if you're self-taught, I think there's a little bit of fear that fuels your, it's a combination of fear and passion, I think, that make it work. And it's just hard work and pushing through that fear. And it's definitely well worth it.
Fantastic. Can you tell us where our listeners can find you on the internet?
My website is markaperry.com, and they can see my work there, works that are available for sale. They can see photos of my work in place, publications that I've have my work published in, and and I'm also on Facebook as well at Mark A. Perry Sculptor for Facebook.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mark. Take care.
I realized I didn't have it on, so let me just double check that the counter is moving. Okay, so all right. Now, what attracted me here to you and this booth is it's obviously standing out from all the other booths because it's neon.
Thank you.
It stands out like neon
Yeah.
because it is neon. Now, neon artists, neon must be a dying art. First off, let me ask you: is that true?
Yeah, neon had like a huge thing in the 80s and 90s, and because of price point, because it is blown glass and it is working with natural gases, has kind of taken a side to more industrious art and lighting, like fluorescence or anything like that.
Of course. It's it is a dying art form. And in case I forget, what's your name and what's your studio?
Sure. Well, my name is Brad Silk. I'm actually a creative consultant, and I'm working with Marco Guglielmino, who's the artist himself. He works here in Brooklyn, mostly out of Brooklyn Glass in Gowanus, but also works out of his house in Sunset.
Guglielmino?
Yeah.
He's the other Google.
Yes.
Okay, so and he makes these squiggly neons, which are kind of googly too. But neon signs are disappearing. They used to be all across the United States. Do you have are you in love with neon, or is it just kind of fell upon this kind of a thing, you and him both?
Yeah. Well, I know him personally, and I started working with him. But his interest probably does stem from being in the 80s and 90s as like a teen and being interested in the New York City lights, but his also interest comes from being a hairstylist. He's really interested in the organic form and color. Okay. So that's something that he really plays with, and why he doesn't really do signs ever, because he's more interested in the three-dimensional forms and shapes that the glass can take.
Right, they're mostly sculptures, basically, neon sculptures. But even in that, like, I don't see neon anywhere anymore, and it comes, different colors are created by different elements inside a vacuum tube, right?
Yeah, there's actually 4 different noble gases, which produce their own colors and textures. And then you can also add mercury to it, and once the mercury liquid heats up into a gas, that will change. So there are some that, as you turn them on and off, will change color because the mercury might be solidifying or evaporating.
Okay, and how long will they last, though? How long will the neon last?
Yeah, that's actually one of the most popular questions here. Basically, as long as the glass is intact, the gas lives inside and therefore will always be working. And with him, he often will be able to repair the glass itself too. So even if it does break or chip, he could most likely repair it and keep that same piece going.
Right. I think I was thinking about it, and I think when you see the exhibit of neon, it's very nice, but sometimes people might only buy one piece. Mm-hmm. And one piece, it's kind of hard to imagine but one piece really stands out in a room. It really looks nice. I mean, there's nothing else like it. So most people, I guess, just buy one or 2 pieces, right?
Yeah, I mean, usually it's custom work too,
yeah.
and it's fit into a alcove or spot, and he can install and submerge the actual electrical parts of it into the wall or into a unit. That's one of the reasons that he actually started making these sculptures with resin bases, is because then all the electricity is hidden. A lot of times people are afraid of that. But him, we did this booth with the rubber walls and floor because he likes the industrial parts of neon and seeing the electricity, and when
Right,
all
not
over his
not
house.
everybody does, though,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
His house is covered in neon, and he has all the electrodes open.
Right.
And you can just put a simple primer on it to make sure that it doesn't electrify anybody.
I guess people ask the question because of the old lava lamp that dies after. Maybe they were remembering that. I think there's a huge island in the middle of the ocean of lava lamps, is what I understand. But so you have the freestanding neon sculptures, and then you have another thing, which is there's fish and there's hearts and there's body parts, and I guess you can put anything you want. But that's just another part of a different kind of sculpture, right? Do those light up or anything, or they just stand there?
Yeah, they do light up. He does make some resin pieces that are just resin molds, but for this, it's actually a brain that's turned up on its side. So that,
it's not a heart, it's a brain.
Yeah, everyone thinks it's a brain, which is actually part of his trick there. It's even the size of a normal person's heart. It's kind of an idea of becoming more logical, having your brain as a heart. But yeah, you can see the kois are lit up here. And with these new pieces, he's also incorporated some phosphorescent pigment. So even after you turn the light off, it will still glow.
It'll glow. All right, interesting.
Yeah.
All right, and what's the website? You have a website, or do you sell them in stores, or where can they buy these? I don't think you sell them in stores, right? You sell them on the website.
Yeah, he often works more as like an artist, so he's in galleries. But he does have a website, which is marconycneon.com.
So MARCO and then neon?
NYC, so Marco NYC. So MARCO NYC.
I see.
NEOW. That's sorry, NEON.com.
Yeah, MARCONYCNEON.com.
Yeah.
All right, I got it. Well, thanks for talking to me. As a brief, I hope you guys do well. I like neon. I mean, there's something about it. It's not there. You don't see it anymore that much.
Yeah.
So good luck.
Thank you very much.
Okay, nice to talk to you. Okay, bye-bye.
So, can you tell me a little bit about your work and who you are?
I'm Randy Solin. I own Solin Glass. I've been blowing glass for 28 years, and I create one-of-a-kind glass pieces for the home or office.
Can you describe one of your favorite pieces, or maybe something you're presenting here today?
I always fall in love with 1 inch. I'm never truly happy with anything, but I could find an inch of every piece that I really love.
So tell me a little bit about what inspires. So I'm seeing a lot of like purple, I'm seeing glass infused with different kinds of things. Can you describe what your art or pieces look like for our listeners?
I think of myself as an abstract expressionist painter that uses glass. So each piece is like a three-dimensional painting to me.
Very cool. How do you, for people who don't know how you do this, how do you go about blowing glass?
I make every piece differently, but in general, I have 400 pounds of molten clear glass. Every time you get glass, it's called a gather, and I gather and gather over and over again. My pieces range in weight from 7 to 30 pounds, so I amass the most amount of glass that I can, then put a bubble into it, and then the air goes flying down the blowpipe and comes out the other end, and then it's hollow. Then I'll spend about 3 to 4 hours coloring it, and most of my pieces have clear glass over the outside layer.
How do you color these pieces?
It's all glass, pure glass from Germany, and I can buy it in all different particle sizes, from baby powder texture up to big chunks called frit. And then I pull glass out in the studio called cane, like spaghetti. I'll run 100 feet with my employees, and that makes all that linear quality in my work.
So why glass? How did you get into this business?
I saw it when I was still in high school. I went into an art building at Alfred University where I ended up going to school. There was a catwalk, and there was this cute boy, and it was in the dark, and he was pouring glass into a mold, and it was like liquid light just dripping And I said, whatever he's doing, I'm going to do. And I changed my entire life in that moment.
Is that when you...
I was going to be a senator. My whole track up until then was political science.
Oh my God. So how long have you been doing this for?
28 years.
28 years?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So I never, once I had that moment, that epiphany, I realized I wanted to be a senator because I thought I could change people's lives. And I realized I could change people's lives with art instead.
Do you have a story or a moment when you really felt like you were changing someone's life with art?
The people that buy my work usually have an emotional connection to it. I've had a lot of people, this sounds bad, but like when they get divorced, like women or sometimes men, they'll come and this will be the first thing that they buy for themselves. And quite often people cry in my booth.
How does that make you feel? That
So
sounds like it's
amazing. What a huge blessing that they feel so emotional that I've touched them. I'm like, okay, this is working.
That's beautiful. So, is this your first time at this?
This is my 11th year.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
I've been here 11 years.
How has this design show changed or evolved in your personal experience?
Oh my goodness, it's completely different. There was no maid section when I started. I would be next to like a Hummer, like the car, and like a guy with Pakistani rugs and an orchid grower, and then there'd be me.
Do you like this new setup?
I love it.
Why do you love
this
it?
is my favorite show that I do in the year. It's beautiful. It's like the best quality. I love everything about it.
That's amazing. And how do you go about attracting? I mean, I don't know. Maybe the art does it for itself, but how do you go about talking to people and like bring them in your booth and getting them excited about your work?
I wait, I guess, until they stop and they get drawn in, and then I start talking to them. Yeah. Hopefully, the work's strong enough that it pulls people in on their own.
Well, I love that. I love the idea of people buying things for themselves and, it being a place for love and change. Can you remind our listeners what your brand is and where they can find you on the internet?
Solinglass, SOLINGLASS.com, or galleries all over the country. If you go to my website, you can see who represents me all over the country.
Amazing. And I have one last question. Is this industry dominated by men or women?
Men.
How is that challenging or hard?
It just always has been, I guess. I don't have a very thin skin, so it hasn't bothered me. And it just is the way it is. I just have always, all my peers have been men for 90% of my career. There are a few women. When I started, there was probably 10 in the country, and now there's hundreds. So it's changing all the time.
Why do you think it's so dominated by men?
I think maybe because it's so physical, which might be like a sexist statement, but I don't know. I really don't know. Like, it's hot, dirty, sweaty. That's all I do is lift things and sweat. Maybe a lot of women don't want to do that. I don't know.
This is really funny for, listeners who can't see your work. The work is so, stunning and elegant. It's all very light glass fixtures, so I do not connote it with hot and sweaty and dirty, but yeah, I see lots of pinks, blues,
and
purples,
massive.
and they're very massive. All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
There we go. Okay, so you have all of this furniture. It's hard to stand out. Walking by your booth, I talked to the guy over there with neon. This stands out about as much as the neon does. It's just crazy. What is this stuff you have? Can you explain? You have 3 things on exhibit. One of them is blue, one of them is yellow, and one of them is red. And they are what?
They're functional sculptures. Each of them is a 3-dimensional line drawing of a chair done in different number of movements.
Okay, so they're about, for the listener, they're not large. About how high are they? About 21 inches, 18 inches?
The seating portion of each sculpture is 18 inches, which is standard seat height.
Okay. And they're like little tubular shapes. They loop around from one side, go up, loop around again, and then go back down. And what's the material that they're made out of?
They're made of rubber.
Okay, very interesting. And let me touch one. What? All right, I like them. I mean, they're really cool. What made you decide to do this? I mean, what was your inspiration?
I play with materials, and I was committed to finding something that was fun and interesting for me.
They kind of look like licorice in a way, a little bit. Yeah, kind of like a licorice chair. So it'd be maybe Pee Wee Herman might have it in his playroom, I would think. Yeah.
That's a great compliment, actually. I aspire to Pee Wee's Playhouse.
I saw the exhibit at an art museum, and it's really amazing. Those people made that stuff from scratch, like under pressure. But yeah, it really looks like something like that. And it's a work of art. It's not. You could tell it's not like a commercial, something that's going to be available in Target. I mean, maybe in the future when you retire, you might want to sell them in Target. But they look like works of art that you'd have in a museum. Do you have a gallery that you sell these in? Is it a website or where?
Well, I'm brand new. This is my very first show. My website is my name, which is aralevanthoros.com.
So ARALEVONTHOROSE.com. Okay, right?
Correct.
And you're not in any stores or anything like that to find?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, ARALEVONTHOROSE. You can remember it as a kid's memory game. What else? Do you have other things, or you said you like playing with materials? Is this your the only thing that you do, or do you have other artwork?
I do other. I use other types of materials for other types of things.
Okay.
But this is a bit of a focus for me right now.
Did you go to art school? Just one or two more quick questions. Did you go to art school? You did?
I did. I recently earned an MFA in three-dimensional design from Cranbrook Academy in Michigan.
In Michigan. Okay. And you live in New York now?
I actually live in Detroit.
Oh, you live in Detroit. Oh, wonderful. Okay, so so you have a gallery in Detroit?
I have a studio in Detroit.
A studio in Detroit. Okay, yeah, because Detroit, I guess there's space there. Is that a good place for artists, do you think, these days? Because I know they have problems there.
Detroit is a great place to make things.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I see the stuff on TV, and other friends of mine see it and say, that would be a great place just to be an artist and just to create stuff, There's not a lot of pressure. The rents are low, I imagine, stuff like that. Okay. Well, good luck to you. I think it's, I just hope makes you happy and you get what you want out of it, I don't know if you want to be famous or what, but these are, like I said, they're very cool. So good luck with you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks.
Do you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your brand?
Sure. So my name is Gordon Auchincloss, and I'm from northern Vermont. I'm here with some custom-made dimmable LED chandeliers. One is built of unfinished brass that will patina over time into a nice antique shade, but I do also do other finishes, plating. I have another light here that's stainless steel, and let's see, some sconces. I'm here at the show with Borealis Studios. They are ceramics and hand-blown glass. Devin Burgess is the glass blower, and he makes my glass shades. I got into this probably from about 20 years of being passionate about industrial design and forming metal. I'm also a public artist. I build site-specific atrium art and freestanding kinetic sculptures that I've placed around the country.
So how does someone get into this? Where does that passion come from? It's not just like reading or, something that's very accessible. How do you get excited about industrial design?
I think it's mostly about form and, how things function and feel when you're using them. I know it's kind of a hard question, but yeah, mostly how things look and how they feel when I'm using them. I've created a few things over the years that are functional tools that are ergonomic and sort of a pleasure to use. For example, I have a bottle opener here that I've crafted out of stainless steel that, as an example, that seems to create a lot of passion from people who use it.
Can you describe the bottle opener for our listeners?
Sure. So it's a turned stainless steel piece that is a fulcrum and tooth sort of classic bottle cap remover design that you can use from any approach to a bottle of beer. And it's got a little weight to it. It feels good in the hand. And I happen to have a pretty good rapport with a lot of passionate beer drinkers out there. Once they have one in their kitchen, it's a great conversation piece.
So something I'm really interested in is, as someone who designs these fixtures, especially light fixtures, what do you think are the 2 or 3 most important things? Because you put lighting in your house and it can completely change the nature of a room. It can change people's moods. Better lit spaces generally create happier people. So what do you think are the most important things when you're thinking about design and shape?
I think proportion to the overall environment. Having a chandelier, for example, that is airy and light in nature, but bold in finish and overall aesthetic presence is one thing. But how it also works with what other forms are in the space and in the room, the finishes that are being used, and the flow of the space, the sort of the feng shui, for example. Yeah.
Is there a reason that you're more attracted? So for our listeners, your design, in my opinion, seems to be very sleek and modern. Lots of feelings, at least if I'm getting the material wrong, stainless steel and blown glass. Is there a reason you're into that particular aesthetic?
Well, I'm a fan of clean modernism and clean aesthetic looks rather than kind of, I hate to say gaudy, but some other types of finishes and whatnot. So.
And who's buying your stuff? Who's really excited by what you're doing?
It seems like there are a lot of really excited people here. I'm totally honored to have been received the way I have. This is the second time I've done this show, and I don't know. I mean, I've had people that are in the industry that have come by and have really felt that my light is, at least the brass one here, which has been so well received, is one of the nicest that they've seen at the show. So I'm honored and humbled by the overall presence here. Excuse me, they're busy.
No, that's amazing. Your booth's actually extremely busy, which is why I came here in the first place. But I am 23, I'm squarely a millennial, and I was immediately drawn to your designs because it feels fresh and energetic, but also not, kind of, I'd use your words too, gaudy or over ornate. It just feels like it fit really well into a chic modern space. Do you mind telling our listeners where they can find you on the internet?
So I do have a website which is in flux at the moment, to be updated soon with my newer work. This stuff's fresh off the bench. But if they were to find me at GordonAuchincloss.com or just Google Gordon Auchincloss, they would probably find my website there. It's sort of a mixture between my public artwork and some of the lights I've built. And if they wanted to email me, I would be happy to furnish images and information about some of the other custom work I've done. So there's an array of other sconces and chandeliers, different configurations.
Do you mind spelling your name out for our listeners?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So Gordon, Gordon, and Auchincloss is Auchincloss, like Sam.
You've been listening to the UnCommonCore podcast with Thomas Howell. I'm Satoko Smith. Thank you for listening.